जय। बोलो लाडली लाल की जय। श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। पादाश्रितानाञ्च समस्तचौरम् श्रीराधिकाया हृदयस्य चौरम् नीलाम्बुजश्यामल कान्तिचौरम् चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि। यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्मुंह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाश मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। Dear devotees, please join me for a few minutes of Nam Sankirtan, and after that we'll discuss a little bit about our Sadhana Sivir. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe Radhe बिहारी लाल की. We're all gathered here for our winter sadhana Sivir. Among us we have many devotees who have attended quite a few Shivirs, both here and at our ashrams in India. And we also have some people who are attending a week-long Shivir for the very first time. There are some things that we can do to get more benefit out of the Shivir, and there are also some things that we can avoid doing, which are even more important. So let us briefly cover these. And understand what points we should keep in mind throughout the duration of the Shivir. We don't have to do much, actually. Your coming here was the main thing. That was your commitment and your effort. That took much more effort than anything you have to do while you're here. Because having come here to this dham, Radha Madhav Dham, where Shree Maharaj Ji himself resided for several months on 2 separate occasions, this is Shree Maharaj Ji's dham. He lives here, even now. And he's with each one of us here, especially here, although he's with all the devotees all the time. But here at Radha Madhav Dham, you can more easily feel that everywhere you go, Shree Maharaj Ji is accompanying you. Because we are here in his dham, in the abode of Radha Krishna, having come here is the main thing. You had to set aside time, you had to make a decision, you had to prioritize over other things, other family activities, family gatherings, other vacations, other responsibilities and commitments that you decided to give secondary importance to. And you came here for a whole week. That means you really value being here and you really understand that you get a lot of benefit out of being here. Now, having come here, you've already been graced and you're already being graced. Grace or kripa is the main reason why we are here. It's the main reason why we're doing sadhana. Only through God's grace and Guru's grace can our heart be purified. The more our heart is purified, the more surrendered we become to Radha Krishna. And when we become more surrendered, we experience more bliss of devotion. We get more relief from the mental sufferings that we cause ourselves, and we get closer and closer to God realization. So receiving the grace of God and Guru is the main thing on the path of devotion, and it's the reason that we've all come here. And just having made the decision and the commitment to come here, you've already received a lot of grace. Because you opened your heart up to God and Guru. The act of deciding to come here was an act of surrender. It was an act of attaching your mind to them. So because of that, you're already receiving a lot of grace just by being here. Your mind is already attached to Radha Krishna and Shree Maharaj Ji. So that's why I'm saying we don't have to do much. Having come here, we don't have to worry about what should I be doing. Just be here. That's it. Relax your mind. Tell yourself that there's nothing for me to do. I've come here, that's it. Now there's nothing more for me to do but be here and receive the grace of Radharani and Shree Maharaj Ji. The Sadhana Sivir is merely a way of helping us structure our daily activities and control our mind. That's the main thing. Providing this variety of activities and this structured schedule for us is what we need in order to control our mind. Because if we could just sit here relaxed all day, just thinking, oh, I don't have to do anything, I'm just receiving Maharajji's grace, the sadhana ho rahi hai. We're getting Maharajji's grace just by doing that. But we won't keep doing that for long, right? We get bored, or our mind will start wandering, or even start thinking about worldly things or negative things. So we're all beginners. We need to provide our mind with this structure. And that's what the Sadhana Sivir is for. That's why we give just enough time for rest at night, 6-7 hours, then get up in the morning, do arti, so get your mind focused on God right from the beginning. Being in the morning arti is very important for jump-starting your day. Even if you feel physically tired, the devotional boost you get by being in the morning arti is significant. So it's very important that you get yourself out of bed. That's also an act of surrender. That act of, okay, you came here, but then you have to get yourself out of bed in the morning. Get yourself to the prayer hall, right? And once you do that, again, Maharaj's grace takes over. You're here, that's it. Even if you're half falling asleep the whole time, you're getting so much grace just by having made yourself get up and come to the prayer hall. Then we have sadhana throughout the day, and during the sadhana, the kirtan is going on. At that time, you may try different ways of getting more benefit. How can you relax? How can you engross your mind in God and Guru's grace, in their remembrance? So sometimes that might be to sing loudly, sing along, clap your hands. Sometimes it might be to sing softly. Sometimes you might be feeling, oh, these words of this kirtan are too much. I'm getting stressed out trying to follow along. Okay, leave the words of the kirtan, just feel the vibration of the kirtan, the grace that Maharaji has imbued in all the kirtan. Sometimes the kirtan is describing one thing and you want to do rup dhyan of something else. It's fine. Don't stress about it. Whatever way you can get your mind to, whatever is the easiest way for you to keep your mind in Radha Krishna. If you put in some effort of doing rup dhyan, that can give you more boost, more experience of the meditation. So just sitting in the kirtan and absorbing the vibration of the kirtan itself is a way of receiving Maharaj's grace. But if you want to elevate your experience even more, then you can try doing rup dhyan. While the kirtan is going on, visualize the form of Radha Krishna, or visualize the form of Shree Maharaj, or all three together, or any one, whatever your mind is in the mood for. When you do that visualization, or even engage your other senses, sense of smell, taste, touch, hearing, and try to experience the closeness, the real presence of Radha Krishna and Shree Maharaj, that will elevate your experience of the sadhana. Then, in addition to sadhana, we have one live lecture each evening, and we have a couple of recorded lectures of Shree Maharaj's as well. So we sprinkle in some philosophy, and you get to hear directly from Shree Maharaj as well about the divine Siddhant. In this sadhana, you participate. If you also feel that I want to get involved physically, then you can do some seva, you can contribute to the functioning of the Sadhana Sivir. Of course, the heart of the Sivir is here in the prayer hall, but the belly is also important, right? So the belly is over there in the dining hall. That's what fuels all the other activities. So that's why what's happening over there is also very important. So there's pretty much something going on almost all day long over there, whether it's setting up for a meal, cooking for the meal, cleaning up after the meal. There's lots of opportunities for you to get engaged in doing some seva here in the ashram. The seva is just another way of doing sadhana. We give it another name, but really it's just another way of providing that structure for your mind. Okay, I'm tired of sitting. I can't sit. and meditate anymore. My body wants to do something, or my mind wants to do something. Okay, then provide the structure of seva. You can participate or contribute to the ashram life by helping out in the kitchen or doing any other seva that we have going on. This keeps your mind engaged and away from negative thoughts or away from worldly thoughts. In this way, you can just structure your day by following the schedule, taking those opportunities to do seva, participating in the sadhana schedule as much as possible. If we do these simple things, we receive so much. It's amazing. And in 7 days, it's really noticeable how much you receive. You feel it building. After 2 days, you feel like, has it only been 2 days? Because you feel the sense of devotion building up inside you. Why? Because you kept your mind out of negative thinking and out of worldly thinking for just 1 or 2 days, and look how much the grace is building up inside you, how much your devotion you're retaining. Then we still have 5 more days after that. So in 7 days you can receive so much. But I told you that there are a couple things we should do. There are also a couple of things we shouldn't do. In Radha Govind Dham, Sri Maharaj Ji says, Par dosh dekhu nahi Govind Radhe, par ninda karu nahi aisa bana de. This is a good testing ground for us. Practice, we can say practicing ground for us. Why? Because we're not alone here at this Shivir. There's 200, 300 people, and we're living together. We're all a big family for the next week. So we have to practice being around people. We're not isolated from people while we're here. And Sri Maharaj Ji has given us guidelines to follow for how to be around people. First of all, he says, Kam bolo, meetha bolo. Speak as little as possible. Be friendly. Unless you're practicing maun, which is an option, you can get a badge at the front desk that says, I'm not speaking. Then you don't have to talk to anyone, and that's fine. You'll get even a different kind of elevated experience by practicing maun in that way. But if you're not practicing maun, you'll be interacting with people. So be friendly, but speak as little as possible. Maharaji says, Kaam ki baat karo bas. Just, oh, someone needs some help? Okay, explain something to them. Someone wants to, it's their first time here, so they want to talk to someone. Okay, talk to someone, be friendly. But don't speak unnecessarily. We speak all the time out in the world and in our family. And the more we speak, the more chances are that we'll say something that will be irritating to the other person, or they'll say something that will irritate us. Or perhaps as we're speaking, if we're getting into non-devotional topics, or even devotional topics, we're just speaking unnecessarily, then what's happening? It's like, psh, the air is coming out of the balloon. We were getting filled up with all that grace, and we're just, now it's starting to dissipate. So that's a very important guideline Sri Maharaj Ji has given us. Speak as little as possible, and whenever we do speak, speak sweetly. Kam bolo, meetha bolo. If it's possible, we should try to remember or try to think that Krishna is sitting in the heart of the person I'm speaking to. So even though I may be in a hurry or I may be stressed out, but who am I speaking to? Krishna's right there in the heart of this person. Or Maharaji's standing here watching, then how would I speak to that person. And as was stated in that doha that I just sang for you, Par dosh dekhu nahi. O Radha Govind, make me such that I don't see the faults of others. Make me so that, see, but we're going to notice, right? But the question is, do we dwell upon it? We could choose to dwell upon the positive qualities of a person and say, oh, I want to be more like that person. Not in an envious or jealous way, but just notice a good quality and say, oh, I'm making that a goal. I want to be more like that person. Instead, our mind tends towards the negative. Now, if somebody points out one of our faults, that's a great thing for us, meaning we should feel lucky that someone took the time to point that out to us so that we could improve ourselves. But we shouldn't just keep our mind thinking about other people's faults all the time. If someone mentions something to you, it's a boon for you. It's Maharaj's grace that you got to hear that. But our mind has a tendency to focus on other people's faults, and they may not even be faults. They may just be things that we don't like. They irritate us just because of our own personality. Our personality doesn't match with theirs. It's not their fault, but I don't like that thing about you. Then I start dwelling upon that. That's called paradosha darshan. Then if I'm doing that, is my mind in Radha Krishna? I just cut the connection, actually. For that much time that my mind was dwelling on that person's faults, the connection got cut. Now I'm not getting any grace and I'm not progressing in my devotion. And then likely the next thing will follow, paraninda. If we're doing paradosha darshan, we're constantly examining the faults of others, then quite naturally we're going to want to speak about it eventually. So we'll pull aside somebody and point out another person's fault to somebody else. So now not only are we spoiling our own thinking, now we're pulling them into it as well. We pulled them out of their devotional thinking to make them think about somebody else's fault. We also call this gossiping. Again, if there's a situation that has to be discussed or resolved, you can't always ignore things. Sometimes you may have to discuss about another person, but it has to be with purpose and with kindness, right? We decide, okay, we need to discuss this situation, so we need to talk about this other person, but remember Maharajji's watching us. Would we have this conversation in front of Maharaj? Very rare when we actually do have to speak about another person's faults. So this is why Shree Maharajji has said, Par dosha dekhu nahi Govinda Radhe, par ninda karu nahi. Ninda means when you're just talking about, not to the person, but to other people. That happens a lot in the world, and because it's our nature, we also do it here at the ashram. And that can create a drama as well, right? And that then the thing spreads. One person started thinking, then they talk to another person, then more people start discussing about it, then it becomes a drama. We don't want that kind of drama ever, but especially during a sadhana shivir or at any time during the here in the ashram. Because as you can understand, it takes us exactly away from the direction we're trying to go. It takes us completely out of our devotional thinking and drowns us in worldly and negative thinking. So to me, in fact, I think avoiding these negative things, these negative habits that we have, are even more important than what we do while we're here. just avoiding those negative things and just being here, we'd be getting so much grace and make a lot of progress. But even if we're doing a lot of sadhana and seva and then also engaging in creating these dramas and doing pardosh darshan, paraninda, then we're gaining on one hand and we're losing probably a lot more, and then creating an environment that also disturbs others' devotion. So then imagine, how is Maharaj looking at us? We all came together and the whole group is elevating and then something's disrupting it. How would Maharaj feel? So that's why we have to be very aware of our own mind and our own words, especially during a sadhana shivir. So we just keep those words in mind of Shri Maharaj's, kam bolo, meetha bolo, and the week will pass sweetly and smoothly. While we're here, the most important thing is just remember that Shri Maharaj is with us. I don't have to tell you much more than that. Follow the schedule, participate in the schedule, take some opportunity to do seva, be aware of your thinking, try to avoid fault finding, and definitely avoid voicing any of that. And just keep your mind in this fact that I'm not alone. Here at Radha Madhav Dham, everywhere I go, everything I'm doing, Maharaj is with me. So we practice that remembrance of Radha Krishna and Maharaj, and we also practice being around other people. This is a much more controlled environment than we live in normally. So it should be easier. Although there's a lot of us in one place, which is a challenge in and of itself, but we're all committed to following these principles of devotion of Shri Maharaj's. So we can also practice just being with other people. We can practice this avoiding fault finding or unnecessary talking. We could just practice that the whole week while we're here, and then we develop that habit, and when we go back out into the world, that will also serve us out there. We'll have developed these good habits, as well as having strengthened our practice of Rup Dhyan and Sadhana. So that's all I'm going to say to you tonight, because I don't want to overwhelm you with things to think about. I want you to remember these few important points, which, by the way, we're also going to keep reviewing nightly during the Atma Nirikshan. Every night for 10 or 15 minutes before the last Kirtan that we'll be doing. Most of you received the little booklets. So those booklets are both for tracking your attendance so that you yourself are aware of how well you're doing of following the schedule. And also so that we can make notes about some of our successes and challenges throughout the day, whether it be a success in controlling our thinking or a challenge we had with, oh, I spoke too much or I spoke harshly. So we'll use these booklets to journal about our own behavior and our own efforts here to gain more benefit here at the Shivir. So that Atma Nirikshan will be a daily part of the schedule. So remember these points, and we'll review these points together. And now we'll spend a few more minutes chanting, and after that we'll get a little bit more orientation to the camp from Chirag. So let us do a few minutes of Kirtan. Radhe Govind Govind Bol, Radhe Radhe Govind Bol, Radhe Govind
Govind Bol.
Radhe Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe 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 Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe Govind.
Radhe
Radhe Govind Govind Bol. Radhe Radhe Govind Bol.
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 Radhe 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 Govind Govind Bol. Radhe Radhe Govind Bol.
Radhe Govind Govind Bol. Radhe Radhe Govind Bol.
Radhe Govind 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 Bol.
Radhe 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 Govind 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 Govinda Bol.
Radhe Govinda Govinda Bol. Radhe Radhe Govinda Bol.
Radhe Govinda 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 Bol.
Radhe 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 Govinda 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 Bol.
Radhe Govinda.
Radhe.
Radhe Govinda Govinda Bol. Radhe Radhe Govinda Bol.
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 Bolo Shyama Shyam ki. Tomorrow, being Sunday, we'll be having another lecture during the morning as well from 11 to 12. We normally have that every Sunday. During that time, I'll be answering questions that people have sent in on our YouTube channel. But if any of you have any questions that you want answered, we can also take questions live during the session tomorrow at 11. So you can think about that if you have any questions. Radhe Radhe.